Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, Matt's back.
Hey, everybody.
I was telling Matt before we went live that I was going to make the sidebar over there. Matt Moore, no, please come back. I swear he'll be nice. He got sleep last night.
It's true.
And here we are. Today on the show, though, we're going to be talking about this Lakers-Wolves series. JJ Redick just gave some quotes after practice today talking about the Lakers offense and how it has to be better. So we'll give our thoughts on what the Lakers can do potentially to make their offense a little bit better. I also want to talk about the Wolves counters. We always look at things through a very Lakers lens on the Lakers Lounge. So, but you know, it's a pretty damn good team on the other side of the court over there, and I would imagine they have some stuff lined up for the Lakers too. And I also want to talk about the rest of the West playoffs, which outside of the OKC Memphis slaughter that we're watching, I'm sorry, Matt, that hurt him. But the playoffs have been fantastic in the West. So we'll talk about how that looks. We're just going to ignore the East until the second round because the East sucks and it continues to suck. And whoever comes out of the East gets to play like 3 YMCA teams and then go up against a team that went through 3 Western Conference championships. Anywho, I'm not bitter at all. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. Please hit that share button. Tell your friends that you love the show. Tell your enemies that you hate it. Let's dive on in. Matt, I want to start here. It's 1-1 heading to Minnesota. I thought that the Lakers found some stuff against Minnesota in game 2, but for the most part, the biggest adjustment still feels like, hey, man, you should care about playoff games. What do you feel like the Lakers' chances are in this series and then moving? Like, have the first couple games of the series told you anything different than you thought going in?
I'm pretty encouraged by game 2. And it's a lot of this is we don't have a lot of sample size on what the Lakers' identity is from a team standpoint, right? We know that over time they're going to become a Luka team, which that's not great for you, honestly. But like right now, we don't know if they're like the Wolves have an identity, which is like
we've already become a Luka team. He has a higher usage rate in this series so far than he did with the Mavs.
Well, and it carries through to like how it's very hard, I think, for other guys to be like, we got to work as hard as possible, except for the most important guy. He doesn't have to. He can do whatever he wants. That I think causes problems. But I do think that the game 2 adjustment was, in terms of intensity, was what JJ needed. Like, JJ wasn't wrong. Like, it was notable to me when after game 1, JJ was like, it wasn't tactical. Like, we just didn't play hard. And I know that frustrated you because you had Darvin flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
But there's always this tension point in the playoffs between coaches who are like, the game plan's not bad, guys. You just didn't execute it. And the counter to that is we didn't execute it because we didn't believe in it. You didn't get us in a place where we were able to really buy in and want to execute it. And I don't think that was a problem in game 1. I think they came in with a lot of, we're the Lakers. And you can't do that. Like, you're not good enough.
The first quarter followed that script. Like, the first quarter was like, see, we're the Lakers. And then
we're the Lakers. Yeah. And then the Wolves are, to me, they are the best team in the NBA in the playoffs at punching you in the mouth. They are the best team at, you had better adjust because we are not taking a possession off. We're trying to win every single possession. Thunder might get there. We'll see how they do when they face a real team in the second round. But like, the Wolves were like this last year. They are coming at your throat from tip off and just like all over. That's how they kind of go. So when they adjusted that in game 2, and the game 2 adjustments, I genuinely think were really good as far as like how they were able to kind of navigate some of this. Like, I love putting LeBron on Nas. That was a really good one versus just hiding. You can't hide Luka on him. Like, you can't do that. You got to just hide. Like, you just have to hide on Jaden McDaniels. And like a lot of this was, as much as, you know, intensity and effort and execution that matters. A lot of game 1 was Jaden McDaniels had a good offensive game. and Jaden McDaniels is not an overall net positive offensive player. If he has a positive series, you're screwed. You are going home. But he's probably not going to, and that showed up in game 2 once they started to be like, all right, let's actually pay a little bit of attention to him. But mostly I thought it was just a lot better. The switching stuff I think is really fascinating because like I ran a little bit of some numbers, and it actually, like, my idea is like, hey, you need to have Jackson Hayes like switching because you need the size and you need to give Luka a rim runner. But instead, kind of what the numbers are revealing is because JJ doesn't feel like they can play switch with Jackson, and instead they want to play drop. That's like, it's not EV. It's not a good strategy. So they need to just go with the small ball switch all lineup. And when you're able to execute that correctly, a lot of this is like, well, what about the boards? What about the rebounds? What can Gobert do with it? Like, what can he do? He can't do anything with it. I love Rudy. He's underrated at this point. He can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So all of the problems that are caused by it, and I will say this too, when I was watching last night, some of the stuff that JJ came up with in game 2, as far as how to diagram the help and where to position yourselves.
Yeah.
Really smart to be able to say, hey, we're not going to double you at the point of attack because you know how to beat that. We're going to position ourselves to double you once you engage.
Yeah, once you go past the first guy.
And that's something Ant doesn't have a lot of experience with.
Mm-hmm.
And that I thought was a really key adjustment in game 2. And that's not something, it's like, well, there's adjustments to adjustments. You can coach it, but the guy's got to be able to execute it. He's got to have enough reps against it to know how to do it. And maybe by game 6, he will. But by that point, you've kind of done your job because you've dug out of a 1-0 at-home hole and you forced a game 6. Like, that's the objective right now, is get to a game 6 and figure it out. You just want to get to a point where you've run out of adjustments because losing game 1 is so devastating historically for teams.
Yeah, the approach to Anthony Edwards, I still would like to see more Vanderbilt on him. And by more, I mean any. And then, but if essentially the Lakers are thinking he's going to go by him too, let's have Vando or whoever as the immediate help once he goes, because there isn't a soul on the Lakers roster who Ant isn't just going to dribble right by or go right through. So playing for that and offering him more resistance at the second level rather than at the first level makes a bunch of sense. And then, yeah, I want to go back to the whole LeBron on Naz Reid and Luka on McDaniels thing. I think a really important part of having Luka on McDaniels is McDaniels isn't as used to setting screens as Naz is. So if Ant wants to go against Luka and get into Luka in space, they don't have a whole bunch of stuff designed for, all right, McDaniels is going to come up and set a screen now and make sure that Luka is now guarding Ant. It takes a beat longer to get there. And that's another second or two away from Ant being able to just attack Luka with multiple dribbles. I also thought it was really interesting, and I don't have it pulled up, but possessions where Minnesota players have the ball for like 6 to 8 seconds or whatever it is, like the longest that NBA.com tracks that, they're shooting significantly worse. And when the Lakers force that ISO player to take a shot and not just have that player go by somebody, get into the paint, and then kick out to a shooter, Minnesota's offense has become pretty stagnant there. So those are going to be things, finding ways to make that isolation more dynamic than it was in game 2, I think, from Minnesota's standpoint. What about the Lakers offense? Because this is something that I really wanted to hit on here. Luka's usage rate, again, is higher right now than it was last year in the playoffs. It's through 2 games. So maybe eventually it comes down. But LeBron has basically turned into a spot-up shooter and when Luka's on the court. And I think that's maybe one of the worst ways you can use LeBron on offense. And it was kind of bothering me over the course of the back half of the season after the Luka trade. Hey, when are you going to run stuff with Luka LeBron? It'd be nice to get some reps here so that you can run stuff with Luka and LeBron when you absolutely have to. And they never really went to it. They came into the series never really going to it. And I'm sure the thinking is, well, they're just going to switch anyway, so why even run that action? I don't know. I would like to just see what it looks like with Luka and LeBron in action together. What do you think the Lakers can do to get LeBron more involved in the offense when Luka's on the ball?
So I do think the switching thing is a problem here in terms of like I'd have to go back and actually take a look at all these to kind of get a sense for it. But like let's say they got Julius on LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, let's put Julius Randle in a defensive sequence. Good idea, right? Let's say LeBron comes up and slips the screen, which is a great way to counter that switch. Okay. And he slips and Julius is chasing. This is where I think the spacing is so important for you to be able to space 5 out. Because if you've got Jackson in dunker spot, now Rudy's able to help up. But if you're running 5 out and Rudy's hiding somewhere else, now Rudy's in that corner and he's having to make that decision between the help down. So I think that there is probably some mechanisms. It's dangerous with the Wolves running those kind of sequences where you're going to run like, well, let's just slip the screen because they're so good at messing up passing lanes because they've got such great length timing. And like one of the things I love about the Wolves is Jaden McDaniels and even like Dante and Nikhil's good at this too, is they are able to position themselves in help where they're able to help down without giving up that corner, without giving up that kick out. And so, but now you can stunt that, which is like you fake that pass, right? Where he's going to try and help you. Like you have LeBron slip and now Luka fakes that pass, the help bites, he kicks to a corner and it's an open 3. And that's a pretty good outcome. I will say just like a lot of this is, again, Luka's going to opt for the simplest and most direct positioning. Like Luka's not a guy that he makes incredible passes. His over the shoulder one that he will do from time to time is absolutely sickness. And his targeting and placement is amazing, but he's not a guy that if you do that, if you switch it, he's not going to make the pass because he's just going to be like, oh, I got Julius, I'll just cook him.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's on Luka to say like, hey, I got to get everybody else involved. That to me is like the key sequence there because Luka's preference is just to be like, I'll force the switch, I'll cook him, and if they help, I'll kick to a shooter. He wants very simple, like if A, then B, if B, then C. He's not trying to do advanced calculus like some of the best players in the game in terms of their mental stuff of LeBron and Jokic and those kind of guys. This is not to say that Luka's not smart enough to do it. He is. He sees the game that way. He's got incredible vision and basketball IQ. That's how he's able to be as good as he is on top of incredible physicality and shooting. But he just doesn't play that way. Like these are things that I think Luka gets to over the next 4 years as you win 3 championships, not now. And that to me is kind of the things like, deal with what's in front of you right now. And most often he's going to just go ahead and make that easy read of, wait, they're switching. I'm going to get Julius Randle. I'm going to work.
Yeah, I get that. And I understand, the Luka part of it is tough because he's not wrong either. Like, hey, I have
Julius Randle on me.
Almost, yeah. Well, you could say that about 99% of defenders in the world, and it's like, yeah, I have so and so on me. Can I just go handle this? It's like having Hulk on your team, and the Hulk is like, hey, I can just go obliterate everybody, and the movie can be over. And Marvel is like, no, we have to nerf you to make the movies more interesting, and in this case, though, it's like you got 2 Hulks. LeBron has also operated, can do that to most defenders. Maybe not as much at this stage of his career, but certainly over the course of his career. He also was able to look at the guy across from him and be like, I can just take this guy. That's still an option. And now, but like the to your point, eventually LeBron kind of learned there's a greater good here. There's a rising tide element of this that I think the Lakers are eventually going to have to get to. And it's especially important because part of that rising tide is LeBron freaking James. And I just think the Lakers are kind of doing the Wolves' job for them by minimizing LeBron down to just a spot up shooter.
I mean, look, Luka's net rating in the series through 2 games is even. Now they're minus 41 when he does not play, which is yikes.
Yeah.
But he's also played 83 out of 9. It's like 13 minutes off court, right? But they've gotten killed in those minutes. But the fact that they haven't won them outright, like this is always kind of the thing with Luka is like it actually is a little hard to engineer teams where he makes everybody better. That's not that he doesn't play a style, and it's not that guys don't benefit from it. Like, this is my thing for Jackson Hayes, which is like just giving him a rim runner fundamentally shifts everything about the gravity and the spacing and the geometry of the court when Luka's on the floor. If you play 5 out, you're going to get a lot of Luka ISO ball because they're going to have to switch to counter your playing 5 out.
Mm-hmm.
If you play Jackson Hayes, they'll play a little bit more drop. They'll have to be worried about the lob. They'll have to be concerned about these kind of things. This is where Mark Williams would help a lot. Like, this is why they need, like, they'll get the center they need this summer, right? So you can kind of see where it's all coming. But for right now, it's like, this is what you have in your arsenal. And again, like, the Jackson Hayes minutes have not been as good as the small ball stuff. That has not been as good. The question is whether you're like, because I did a post about this on my Substack, and I think it's a really interesting question of fans always want the meta. They want the most effective tactic available, right? 5 outs working, switch it, or Hayes is not. Don't play Hayes, play 5 out. Okay. But what if the alternative is if you play with Hayes better, that can be better than your 5 out outcome? It's about execution versus the tactic that's available. Like, fans are like, that didn't work, never do it again. That guy didn't play well, never play him again. And with coaches, they're like, I need to get this idea of what we want to do to work instead of just going for what is right in front of me. Now, like, I fall into this where I'm like, look at the net rating with him on off court. Like, you just got to play this guy and not play the other guy. I do that. But the reality is, like, it's a lot more complicated. Offensively, I think they need Jackson Hayes in order to free up some of these mechanisms. Because if you play, even with Rudy and drop, and like, Rudy will drop because it's like, yes, I will break up the lob to Jackson Hayes. Ha. But the minute that you play drop, even though Luke is not great in drop, you will entice the help defense. And that will open up opportunities for LeBron to catch and drive. And now LeBron's in space. Now Austin's in space. And those guys are a lot better. Like, that's the key in this series, I think, is it's not LeBron ISOs. It's not LeBron. It's not even, I don't think LeBron setting screens and slipping at age 40. I think it's more of Luka generating the attention and then driving and kicking and punishing closeouts with Austin and LeBron by driving.
Yeah.
Instead of, more ISO or even like Luka dynamic mechanisms. Use Luka to initiate your offense. If they give it to you, great. And he'll score enough on those for it to be effective. Make them bring help. And once they bring help, you've got an opportunity to kind of get there.
Yeah, that's kind of what's happened a little bit in all of professional sports. But as these front offices and as these organizations have become, for lack of a better term, a lot more techie, the thought is always, well, what are the most effective shots? What if we just take those shots? What is the most effective outcome in baseball is a home run? Well, let's just hit all home runs. I don't even know what the version of this, it's kind of evolved a little bit in football, but yeah, in football, it was like, what if we replace all of the runs up the middle with throws to slot receivers and we just forget how to run the ball? And then as teams have kind of realized, the smart teams have realized recently, actually, no, it really matters to run the football. Yep. It really helps the rest of your offense. Even if that one run up the middle isn't as effective, it's really important to go to that, to wear down the defense eventually, to have as an option to keep defenses honest. And I think that's kind of what the Lakers are running into, where it's like, we have this hyper efficient offensive genius over here in Luka. What if we just had him take all the shots? And he's looking at it like, what if I just make the same play over and over and over again? And it's like, no, actually, you have to diversify, even if it costs you some opportunities in the short term. In the long term, eventually it's going to make you a more diverse offense, and it makes you harder to stop. So it's going to be interesting to watch how they handle that.
Can I ask you a question? Because there's a super chat you got. Shout out Brennan Hemming for putting us in there. And
well, hold on. If we're going to talk about a super chat, we have to play the very important pre-super chat video. All right, now go ahead.
He talks about Hayes should be benched. Also, Vando has to match Ant minutes. Can I ask you a question? Because Locked On is like this too. I love Vando. I love Vando covering him in Denver, and like, he's an underrated guy, and the stuff that he brings in the regular season is really valuable. Do you guys not see that Vando is a high effort player that gets exposed in the playoffs? Like, I love Vando.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this was the case in previous iterations with him too. And it was the case in the regular season when he came back this season, which was like, that's going to help their defense so much. And then you looked at the numbers and we're like, oh, the defense is like way worse with Vando. Like, they have a 133 on court with him. And I just got done talking about how, like, hey, it's how you use him and like all these types of mechanisms. I get that. I'm just telling you that like Vando's a high effort player in an environment where now everyone's playing hard. Vando's not your answer here. He's too much of an offensive liability, and even the physicality stuff doesn't make up for it. Because like I watched it last night, a lot of it's like they move Ant off ball when he gets switched onto him, and then they kick to Ant, and then Vando's always like a step late because he's trying to make a play because he's so excited. So he's ball watching, and now he's a step late, and Ant's around him. You have to have extremely disciplined players in terms of closeouts. And like that really is the key of the series. Like that was difference in game 1 and game 2. If you look at the numbers, it is absolutely startling, Anthony. Like, here's the deal. In the playoffs, the Minnesota Timberwolves on offense, when they're taking a spot up shot, so they're either driving off of a kick out or they're just taking a spot up three, their efficiency is otherworldly. Once you drop them into ISO or even pick and roll, they're at 1.32 points per possession on spot up opportunities, 0.63 in ISO. So make Ant do one-on-one stuff and it's fine. But once you start, like, if you just stay home and don't ball watch, if you're just engaged and take away those situations, the defense is going to be fine. The Lakers are going to win this series in 6.
Yeah, Vando is a prolific overhelper, and that does get the Lakers defense in trouble eventually. My thing with Vando, if the Lakers had one more good player, I wouldn't care. I would say, okay, cool, Vando doesn't play. But the Lakers right now, Matt, have 8 players. That if you whittle that, if you remove Vando from the rotation, or you make Vando a lesser version of himself, which is already a pretty lessened version of himself, you're running out of guys.
I cover the Nuggets, so I'm just kind of used to this. This is just like what the playoffs are. So this is strange to me. Yeah, I mean, look, Luka, Dorian, Jordan Goodwin can play. He should be playing more. Why is Jordan Goodwin not playing? Right?
They're small. And
Rui,
the problem is he's also playing alongside Vando, which is really, really hurting them.
You could get to 8 if you got Goodwin. You could still get to 8. You just sub out Vando for Goodwin, and I think that works. And the Wolves have, here's the big thing is like the Wolves are like, you better match us with size. And the question is just like, what are they gonna do with it? Like what are they gonna do with it? Like if it's even if you want to take out Rudy, if it's Randall, to me, it's very telling that Julius Randle has had a terrific offensive series, and yet they are losing his minutes. That to me is like, that is significant to me. You can live with Julius Randle having a great series. That's fine for LA.
I feel like eventually Randle has to cool off, right? Like he's shooting better than like Kevin Durant mixed with Steph Curry. It's unreal the stuff that he's doing. And yeah, to your point, the fact that they are still somehow winning his minutes while he is playing like Steph Durant is insane. But yeah, the Randall thing is wild.
I mean, you guys don't have anybody for him, right? Like he's 4 of 7 last game versus Rui. He's 2 of 3 versus LeBron. A lot of this is like, it is this is the whole thing with LeBron where it's like, yes, LeBron at 40 can do this, but asking him to guard Julius is just like, it's a little unfair. It's just like a little unfair. And then on top of it is the fact that LeBron is the most serial helper up out of the corner there. He's always lifting. And the Wolves have definitely realized, like, hey, if we put Julius in the corner, LeBron can't help but help up. And if we get Julius in the corner, he's got a straight line drive, which even if you close off the baseline, Julius is good enough and has good enough touch to move to the middle for the floater, for the backwards floater or fadeaway. Like, those are easy shots for Julius. You don't have anybody to prevent Julius from getting to really easy shots in the series. The problem is like you can still live with it. Like there's guys whose scoring does not hurt you, who just are just like, all right, fine, whatever. That's Julius Randle.
Yeah,
like you're just fine with it. He's not going to score 50 and win them the game. He might win 1, but that's it.
Well, they can't really afford 1 more at this point. They dropped the 1 in.
No, you can. The key is this is always the timing of it, because I go into series saying things like, all right, like in the Clippers series, I was like, Kawhi's going to win 1.5. The Clippers defense is going to win a half. Jokic is going to win 2. Now we're even at 4 at 2 apiece. Shooting variance probably gets Nuggets to 3. Bad shooting variance probably gets Clippers to 3. And then it's game 7 and it's a coin flip. Like, that's kind of how I think of it. And so with Randall, it's like, yeah, look, if he has a 50-point game and is amazing in the same game where the Lakers don't hit anything and they have bad shooting variance and you have a good Ant game, you get blown out, but that's fine because you got all the bad in one game. What you can't have is you can't have a bad shooting game in game 4 and then a Julius game in game 5. That's what you can't have.
Yeah. What are you looking for from the Wolves offense? Having seen what the Lakers did, we talked about it at the top, a little bit ago about Anthony Edwards and offering more help at the second level rather than right when he has the ball. What kind of adjustments would you say you're looking for ahead of Game 3 tomorrow?
From which side?
From Minnesota's side, offensively.
Yeah. I don't know that there's actually a lot here, because a lot of the things that when I look at it are things that they're probably not going to do. Like this should honestly be a series where I don't think Rudy should play much, and I'm never that kind of a guy. It's not
that we have the Rudy conversation.
Yeah.
Quick aside. So Wolves fans are adamant. Actually, no. Here's the data. Rudy Gobert is really good in isolation against the Lakers.
Yeah.
Lakers fans, however, presenting the same data with one extra variable, free throws, are now actually saying, no, actually, it's perfectly fine to attack Rudy the way that they are. Me personally, I would like to stick a beret on Mike Conley and see if Luka goes at him occasionally too. But I think we've completely lost the plot on Rudy Gobert. I think he is really bleeping good defensively. He is that bad offensively. And what you get at the end of that equation is a guy who eventually teams realize, oh, we don't have to guard somebody even when they're standing 3 feet from the rim. And that becomes somebody who is really detrimental in the middle of your offense.
Yeah.
Why is this so difficult for people to understand?
Because but that's not how the conversation is placed, though. You have to admit that the conversation is, oh, you can't trust Rudy Gobert. He gets played off the floor like it's 2018. Like in 2018, I wrote about, diagrammed, discussed, did video clips, did all the stuff on how this happened. Here's the credit to Rudy. Rudy's one of the few guys in this league that gets better at his weaknesses. He doesn't go into the offseason and just play the same way and there's just like, I know what I'm going to do. I know who I am. He doesn't rest on his laurels. He got better at level. He got better on switch. He got better in high drop. Like, he's better in all these types of situations. Like, he is not playable off the floor defensively. You are right, though, that offensively it is a problem. And I do think that what we wind up with is like this idea of, the idea for the Wolves is they want to win this with defense. And if you want to win it with defense, well, through 2 games, Rudy Gobert has a 99 defensive rating when he's on court. It's pretty good. Like, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty elite. And they've won his minutes by 11 points. It is, I will say this, it's hard to disagree with the numbers from the perspective of, even if you want to point out all of these individual things, you can't make the argument that he causes them to lose. You can't do it. There's no way to get there. But if you're like, but the free throws, okay, but they're still good enough around it. Oh, but the spacing, but they're still good enough around it. Now, my thing is, in situations, there's going to be a game where the Lakers offense is clicking and your defense is not slowing them down. And you need to be able to pivot in that game. And instead of trying to get back to grinding it out, you're going to need to counter them because you have the spacers to do it. You have enough shooting. So that's there's all these drives I watched in game 2 where the Wolves were still able to get really good. Now, the Lakers ISO defense was much better in game 2, but they were able to get the breakdown and get past the primary defender. But the paint's clogged because it's Julius and it's Rudy down there. I also think one of the things that they need is fewer lineups with both of them. You really need just like one of those guys on the court. And that's hard. Finch might get there because Finch has more leeway than most guys. But I do think if it's a defensive game, if it's a grinded out game, if Luka's going to keep ISOing, I think it's fine. Because now ISO possessions are inherently less efficient. You're never going to be able to generate out of ISO. Like, it's very difficult to generate a 1.3 consistently. Like, if you're at 1.15, oh my God, you're killing it. Most of the time, it's like a
right
really good playoff,
1.07.
like a playoff great number is like 1.10. Like if you're at 110, that's really good. But the problem is then you are in a grinded out slugfest. And I don't know that you want to be there with the Wolves. So instead, you're able to kind of get them out of that comfort zone. And it's an offensive game. That's where Rudy, I think, loses the impact a lot because, and this shows up in the numbers. They have a 110 offensive rating with Rudy, a 116 without him. They're not scoring enough with him on the court. They're just, the Lakers aren't either because and this is the other thing you do is very easy to get suckered into. Rudy's on the court, let's attack him. And Luka does that too. Oh, I'm going to eat. Oh, look at all my highlights. This is the thing with Zoo. And it's just like, this is not the way for you to generate what you need to. You have more firepower than them. You have Austin Reeves, you have LeBron James, you have shooters in Rui and Dorian. You have a rim runner in Jackson Hayes. You have a shooter in Gabe. You have guys. You have to win this game on this series. You have to win on offense. You're not going to win the series in a grinded out ISO defensive battle. That's not happening. You got to get this game into unfamiliar and uncomfortable territory for Minnesota.
To me, the part of it that annoys me when I watch the Lakers get too ISO heavy is how late in the shot clock they do their isolations. They wait until so late in the shot clock, and whatever shot they get from that isolation tends to be their only opportunity. Whereas if you attack him, because Luka's been able to go by Rudy, Austin has been able to go by Rudy, LeBron hasn't been able to get a step quite yet on Rudy. And if you go a little bit earlier and you get that step on Rudy, or you force Minnesota into helping on that play on Rudy, now all of a sudden you can put them in the blender through isolation. But the problem is they're waiting so long, and it's taking them so long to get to the isolation on Rudy that's their only option. And to this point, it's been okay if you count free throws, but I think, to your point, the Lakers, they're the smaller team and they need to be better than okay. You know, they need to be overwhelming offensively because I just think hoping to rely on this defense, we saw what that looked like in that one stretch later in the year where all of a sudden the defense wasn't incredible and the Lakers looked extremely pedestrian. And I even then I was like, hey, the offense kind of needs to pick up the slack here. And that's something that I'm really kind of looking for over the course of the rest of this series. I want to zoom out really quickly and talk about the rest of these series that we've been watching. Obviously, you're there in Denver, and you've watched, I think, to this point, in terms of the caliber of basketball, the best series so far between the Nuggets and the Clippers. Last night, Houston evened out their series against Golden State as they head back to San Francisco. And then, obviously, we've been talking about this series here, too. Has any team shown you anything that makes you, because I think you think OKC's coming out of the West, right?
No.
Coming in, you didn't think so?
No.
Oh, who did you think was coming out of the West?
The Los Angeles Lakers.
Outside of like the NBA reasons thing. Is it a legitimate, is it legitimate belief in the Lakers, or is it the snide, oh, well, it's Lakers Celtics because the league needs Lakers Celtics?
It's both. So one of the things I think that's weird is this idea of like, there has been this idea of the Lakers weren't even good. And I'm like, guys, before the trade, they were second in the, like they were already there.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Lakers were already there. Like they were already there. They were already good enough. This team is good. This team has the bones of a good team, and they added Luka Doncic and got rid of a huge drag on their defensive rating and on net court. Like they got rid of the most overrated defensive player in NBA history. So being able to make that adjustment helps them a ton. They were already good enough. Seriously, they were already good enough. I did think that they were good enough. I did think they matched up well, and I legitimately think that Luka. I am Thunder adjacent in some ways. And I will tell you that the Oklahoma City Thunder never want to see Luka Doncic in a playoff series ever again.
Did you see the visible uptick in their energy after Luka was thrown out of that game?
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
did you see them? They're like,
here's a lot of it. But here's a lot of it, right? You have like this great, the Wolves are like this too, where you have this elite defense, But when one guy is breaking it, and that's been the real tension point here in these first 2 games, and this is what's really important, is there's a long game being played. For as much as I can say, like, don't run as much Luka-centric stuff, the trick is that if you keep running it, you increase the psychological impact on the Wolves to break their principles and start helping. And once they start helping, it's absolutely incredible with how fast it breaks down. Once you get them out of their comfort zone, they're not as good. And the Thunder are the same way. Luka dictates that they can't play their game. This is, to me, is such an underrated thing about the playoffs.
Yeah.
Is, are you able to get that team out
Away
of their
from
comfort zone?
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this is my thing with the Celtics. Don't let them take threes. Oh, but
Yeah.
Jason Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis, don't let them take threes. If you do not let them take threes, you will have a chance. You may not win.
That's how the Lakers had success against them the last time, or 2 times ago when they saw them. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's it. Now, if you're the Magic, it's also someone has to make a jump shot sometime. But in general, like, that's the thing. So with the Thunder, that's my thing with Luka, is he breaks their defensive principles so much that, and then there's just like, I still continue to be like, there's gonna be a playoff game, whether it's 5 or 6, where Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, Isaiah, not maybe Cason's really good, Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, those guys are going to shoot terribly.
Yeah.
And it's, do you trust those guys to hit those shots? And for me, it's like, I trust them based off of the math and the numbers and the work that they put in and how good they are. I don't trust them based off of the basketball god's ethereal nature of unfairness that plays out every postseason. So no, like, they're going to miss their shots. And
is it unfairness, or is it just that it's the same kind of player whose shot always goes away?
So here's the thing. What is
like
it that they can
like
do?
the tension does mount. Like, there's higher stakes on those shots.
But what can they do better? Like, how are they supposed to, like, this is what always drives me nuts about make or miss stuff, where it's like, you shoot the same way thousands of times.
I disagree. Well, no, that's actually my point, is that, like, you do shoot the same way thousands of times over the course of the regular season, and then in the postseason, you have to shoot a hair faster. I just talked about this with Raj, and I think that's what we're seeing with Austin's shot at the beginning of this series, where Minnesota is incredible at digging and then just darting out there to get out to shooters. And when you watch Austin's shot, and I've gone back and I've watched plenty of his shots in the series, they're all noticeably faster.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Those guys, yeah.
Okay, so, but the problem, though, Anthony, this is what we do then, is we retroactively apply these things. It's post hoc ergo propter hoc, where instead of going back and watching Lou Dort's shots, instead of going back and watching these possessions, we go, oh, well, that's because the defense rushed them. And you're just applying a reason to variance. If you go back and you watch it and you can show that.
How can we call it variance if it's the same exact shooters every year?
I don't know. And that's the thing, but I don't know that that's like, I know you're laughing, but here's the thing is, I don't know that that's actually to do with, because for you, it's like and this is like the sports fan thing of like, some guys are made for the moment and some guys are not. And instead, like, the reality is like, no, basketball is an unfair sport. And sometimes the gods decide that these shots will not go in, that are shot the exact same way as all the other shots. And they just don't go in. That was Milwaukee. Milwaukee every year in the playoffs, except 2021, would generate incredible open looks for good shooters with playoff experience. Clank. It's not, they're not chokers. These guys were not chokers. These guys, because those guys do get found out. If you're rattled by the playoffs, you can tell. Like, you can see it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case.
Brooklyn, the white guy from Brooklyn, Joe. No. Who's the guy I'm thinking of? The white guy, the white shooter from Brooklyn, Joe Harris. Thank you. Yeah. Like, that guy was visibly shaken. He was shaketh in the postseason.
Yeah.
And but like, I also think, though, that like people don't realize, again, I'm going to use the exact same rant that I made yesterday. People don't realize how perfect things have to be aligned to make a 3-pointer for a human being to throw a ball in a hoop from that far out. Everything has to work out. There's a certain timing. There are a bunch of boxes that you have to check. And for some guys, they have larger margins for error than other guys. And I think, to your point, where you're talking about how we go back and I'm telling you, when I watch Lou Dort's shot, I'm like, that dude, it's a catapult. And in the postseason, when guys are closing out and they get to him half a second or a second faster, that catapult can't load up the way it will. And I'm pretty confident in saying that I bet his shot eventually is going to go away in the postseason. And it's a lot of those same guys. Isaiah Joe's a little different, and that's why I didn't understand it with Joe Harris. It's like that dude has a picture perfect jumper. That's just somebody mentally short circuiting in the postseason. But some of these guys, though, you see some of these shots, and you're like, yeah, I get it. Dylan Brooks, yeah, eventually, I get it. That's how it's going to go.
I just think it's confirmation bias. I think it's just like, I don't like this guy, so he's not going to make it. Like, I just don't know that there's
No, I mean, like, there are guys who have played for the Lakers who are like this. I'm nervous that it might be Austin. Like, if his shot doesn't come around, we might be looking at that kind of a situation here with Austin. And because his shot, it does take a second for him to get the ball all the way back on the platter and get it gone.
Yeah,
and with those guys, it does take a bit of a toll. Now,
I think it's a mix of these things. I think it's a very specific circumstance, because you're not wrong that you can go back and actually watch and be like, oh man, they're rushing him. Because this is a big thing with OKC is, I noticed this early in the season. If you rush them, they're uncomfortable. That's the thing with them, is they're not a slow team, but they want to play at their pace. They're only going to play at their pace. And if you don't let them do that, if you rush them, they get a little frantic. And so that's going to be a problem. So anyway, the end result here is, it's Lakers Celtics because of ratings.
Perfect note to get up out of here as you swig from a Kansas City Chiefs mug. Matt, thank you very much for hopping on. Is there anything you want to plug before we before we get you out of here?
I do Buckets Live betting show every night, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. I do Locked On NBA every day. You can catch that show with takes and analysis and lots of stuff like that. I've got a Substack, Hardwood Paroxysm. You can catch, my Denver stuff. But yeah, Hardwood Paroxysm is the Substack, and Action Network. Thanks for having me on, Anthony.
Anytime, bud. Thank you very much for hopping on. Plan here is to hopefully write something and then narrate that in tonight's lowdown, and then that takes you to tomorrow night's game, which I believe I will be live for. The thing is, my daughter just won the Principals Award, and we promised her a concert for the Principals Award. So we're going to see when we can get back from that and how quickly I can get back from that to be able to go live here after the game. But if I'm back here in time, I will be live right after tomorrow's game 3. Should be a good one. Final prediction, Matt? Who do you think wins?
Well, first off, shout out Avery. Way to go.
Yeah.
Lakers in 6.
Yeah, I said 5. I think I'm sticking with 5. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm stubborn. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Bye, everyone.